Welcome back. It's your boy, Golden Minute, here to tell a tale as old as time about college toilets, now known as the lounge. Me and the boys were enjoying back-to-back successful league campaigns going into the new season, and we're ready to carry on our good form to the next division, having gained access to sixth form hunting grounds, the common room, H107, the TLRC, last but not least, sixth form boys' toilets. As fresh as into this top secret members club, we didn't know what to expect heading in. We were greeted by a couple veteran loungers, and at this point, things became much clearer. An initiation procedure commenced. 5-second inhale on the max wattage box without coughing, and just like that, we were officially loungers. This first year in the lounge was the Wild West era. It was love at first sight. A lot of boys' toilets are just a place you go when you need a little nick rush. Not the lounge. The lounge was the spot. We tried going back to the common room and other designated break areas, but it just wasn't the same as the lounge, where we had our own space and privacy to do whatever our hearts desired. Such vibes, such culture, felt like it was ours. There was no better feeling than strolling into the lounge and seeing the entire crew getting lit. And it wasn't long before antics became more and more outlandish. As I said, this was the Wild West era. These times, you had to ask what was in the chong before you puffed it if you didn't want an unconsensual trip to Benjamin City. This code of conduct can be traced back to the notorious spy season, autumn term. Shortly after initiation, loungers began sourcing a certain type of liquid, supposedly pure oil, so that we could all get faded than the hoe in the lounge. Every day there'd be at least one guy with that spicy chong, and best believe we made that boy pass the ting to the whole crew. Your liquid wasn't making it to the end of the day. Free block, lesson, we did not care. We were itching for that spice. You'd just see 20 men stumbling out the lounge, back into class, hella faded. This behavior persisted for about 6 weeks before the lounge committee came to the conclusion that due to a liquid shortage, as well as the fact this was clearly an unhealthy, unsustainable lifestyle, turning us into spice zombies, we had to put an end to this and get Lounge back on track. Lounge continued to thrive. A wide range of high quality goods were available for sale. Meanwhile, I didn't even have my own chong. We've all been there. It doesn't feel good. So you know I had to hop on those dodgy sites that deliver to your door, no questions asked. I came across a fine piece of machinery in my price range called the Vapor Resso. There was one piece of a puzzle left, and I wasn't breaking the piggy bank to get it. I was in the trenches. I had to resort to a life of crime to get my nick. I rummaged through my mum's drawers and hit a devious lick on a Poundland menthol liquid. Filled the Vapor Resso to the brim. Just like that, the menthol was born. I took a fat ripperoo. Oh my, this thing tasted like ass, like a mint shot in my mouth, bro. And it wasn't smooth either. Thing viciously attacked the throat. I brought this bad boy in, and it quickly earned itself a fearsome reputation in the lounge. The menthol was a desperate measures vape, but it was always the old reliable. When the boys needed it most, the menthol was always there to relieve our stress. The real one. But he had no idea what was coming to him. See, the loungers had been getting reckless and complacent. Motherfuckers were consuming horse tranquilizer in the cubicles. Slashanko would bring his disco lights in, get the lounge raves going. We'd be rolling up in there, having it smell like pure gas. We had boys in there We were all committing arson and vandalism in the most dastardly ways possible. Roof tiles getting boshed out, toilet paper Molotovs. Someone even dismantled the cubicles with their bare hands. So now there's just two toilets floating there with karate chopped walls laying beside. The loungers were running riot and people began to notice. Heading into second year, I was so consumed by hubris, I forgot chonging on premises was not allowed and was just ripping the menthol. Member of staff came running immediately to bust me. My school worked on a three strike system. Three strikes and you're out. I just got my first strike. The first strike of all the lounges. But more importantly, I had to give up my contraband. The menthol was gone, sentenced to the deep, dingy depths of the sixth form drawer. I was devastated. But at least I got two strikes left. No sweat, right? Yes, sweat, 'cause the heat was coming. The year group was called in for an emergency assembly where our crimes were put on full blast. 4K HD evidence of everything. A threatening warning was issued. The loungers, however, were not intimidated. The riot behaviour stopped, but apart from that, it was business as usual. We were now the veterans in charge, the top boys, scouting out the newcomers into the lounge. But we did not like what we saw. These newcomers were not fit to be loungers, on account of them being a bunch of little neeks. Apart from Led and Phil. Led and Phil were G's and immediately accepted into the team. These were two boys who never said no, which is exactly what I needed after being ripped away from my dear menthol. So big ups Led and Phil. In fact, I'm gonna take a moment to shout out everyone who never failed to bust a nick. We got Bandy, B-Wits, Char, Penn, Mossy, Alf, Bench, and Slashanko. You boys are not forgotten. Among the year belows was Dooley, who was never officially a lounger, but was given an honorary role as lounge jester. When things were getting stale, we could always put Dools in situations and watch his reactions with delight. We even held an exhibition fight between him and fellow specimen Bazza. The crowd built, and a long shoving match ensued before, with a fair bit of help from Frank, Bazza tripped Dools up, causing his jeans to rip from top to bottom, bringing the fight to an end as Dools rushed home to change. Unfortunately, no winner could be awarded due to unfair intervention, but that didn't stop Dools coming back to school. Bold. We were up in there, and Dools asked for a puff, so of course I obliged. Suddenly, the door swings open. I looked to Dools in despair, but he didn't react quick enough and let out a fat cloud as a staff member stormed in. And to be honest, bro really didn't say anything. He just turned on all the taps and skedaddled out of there. Weird, but I didn't think anything of it till the next day when head of sixth form, Miss Bomber Clark Forehead, called me into her office, and I just saw all the homies sat there waiting for me, which is when I knew we were cooked. I was like, damn, this motherfucker really snitched on us. All of us got hit with a formal warning, which was bullshit, because Dools was the only one caught vaping. We tried pleading our case, but she was having none of it, so now I was on strike too. But that was the least of our worries. This moment signified the pigs had had enough and were now out to get us no matter what. They wanted to put an end to the lounges, as well as our way of life. More importantly, it marked the beginning of the lounge raid era. From this moment, operations and lounge things began to get set up. This caught everyone by surprise.
Surprise, motherfucker!
Pen got popped, B-Wits got popped. Even though the lounges were dropping like flies, we were still mega chilling in there. But always with the fear of a lounge raid in the back of our minds, we kept our ears peeled. At the first sign of a lounge raid, it was every man for himself. Motherfuckers wrestling to get into the cubicles, whoever was left quickly taking their positions at the sinks or urinals, looking as normal as possible. Several of Miss Forehead's raids were thwarted with minor losses using these elite counter-attacking tactics. But as a similar figure Maggie Thatcher once said, we only need to be lucky once. You need to be lucky every time. And true say, all it took was one mistake. You see, the lounge was vulnerable to heavy fog due to extreme weather conditions, meaning the door needed to be shut at all times. However, due to a fatal blunder, the entire lounge's crew was released in the fog directly in Miss Forehead's direction as she passed by. As you can imagine, she was displeased and immediately sounded the alarms. She camped up and wasn't leaving till we all lined up outside the lounge. This shit was like D-Day. The lounge Titanic was sinking. The lounge was in flames. This was the biggest hit the lounges had ever taken by far. We just got recode. All the lounges got formal warnings. Rory, Bandy, and B-Wits all banned from the lounge. But only one casualty. Me. Walking home that day, I knew what was coming for me. Soon as I stepped through that door, my mother got to yapping. I couldn't get a word in. And I wasn't really trying to hear this shit, so I went upstairs to contemplate my future. After thinking long and hard, I came to the conclusion that because I'm a good boy, with good grades, which my school were in desperate need of, as well as the fact that this case was bullshit and a setup,
The Matrix has attacked me.
I thought I was going to beat the case. Not too long after was the day of justice, and PC Forehead was doing too much. Had my dad on the Zoom call and everything, trying her hardest. So she starts talking foul about my third form award. And my mum, she ain't hard as nails like me. I could see her tearing up, which made me so mad. I was feeling a certain type of way. I wanted to unleash some pain, but that would only worsen the situation. So I kept my cool. That's when this bitch starts talking about how I'm not meeting behavioral expectations, but I am meeting academic expectations. And there it was. Just as I'd calculated, she wasn't standing on business. I wasn't getting kicked out, but it was an empty victory because I had to sign a contract saying I was only allowed on school site for lessons. They banned me from school as if I was some sort of nonce, meaning I'd finish a lesson, have to leave school, and wait on road for an hour till my next lesson. Bandy always came by when he was free, and the loungers often paid respects, but they weren't gonna camp out on road every time, so sometimes I had to firm it on my ones. Thankfully, with the summer seasons coming up, road becomes a much more attractive spot. For now, I had to sit back and observe. I figured that I could actually sneak around the school undetected with no issues. However, lounge and other sixth form areas were strictly off limits. Just too much heat. That shit was an instant 5-star wanted rating, so I peeped a little replacement. It was actually nice to be lounging up again, and I was pleased to see some of the youngest carrying on the legacy. Donnie's no older than 13, coming in, toting the kiwi passion fruit guava. I was so proud for real, but all it did was have me reminiscing on the good old days. However, from what the boys were telling me, I wasn't missing out on much. The lounge was on its way out for quite some time, and in late spring, PC Forehead put the final nail in the coffin as I received intel that she fitted a camera in the corner of a room, the cubicles being the only blind spot, so only 3 chongers could be deployed at once, 6 if you really tried, compared to a previously unlimited capacity of lounges. We couldn't live like this, in fear, in hiding. We had to move on from the lounge. We mourned its loss deeply. It taught us all it could and implanted us with its spirit, allowing us to take it wherever we pleased as special ops loungers. Even though the loungers had moved operations, Miss Forehead was still out for blood. She was looking for any excuse to get rid of me, and one day she thought she found the perfect opportunity. My boy had picked up a queue of some premium gas for us to split. Instead of keeping it in his car for after school, this guy strolls into lesson with it, 15-20 minutes late, stinking up a storm. It was bad. Even Rob knew someone was up. I could see Miss Forehead's face twisting up. Ain't no way she's letting this slide. Expulsion and jail time minimum. So I was just sat there singing prayers for bro. That's when safeguarding pull up with their high-vis jackets, and I'm like, oh shit, my guy's finished.
You're finished. You're finished. You're finished. Wallahi, you're finished. Wallahi, you're finished.
Jesus Christ. Fucking hell, man. I'm finished.
Then this dumbass hoe asked me to take my bag and go with safeguard. Now I ain't no snitch, so I kept it pushing. I was taken to the office by Mr. Henny and his colleague. I was told to empty my bag, and I happily obliged. After finding nothing, they began questioning me about the smell. I kept my mouth zipped. It wasn't me. Next question. They then asked me to empty my pockets. Now, I didn't have too much choice, with Mr. Henny, 140 kg of Irish beef, blocking the exit. So I emptied out a vape and 3 bottles of liquid onto the table, at which point I thought it was game over. Hey, at least I'm going down like a G, taking the hit for the homie. But they just confiscated my stuff, let Miss Forehead know they didn't find any loud, and sent me back to my lesson. I walked back in there with the cockiest smirk on my face. I felt like the Teflon Don, because none of these charges were sticking. That was my pack gassing the room up, and I dodged the case once again. Me and bro left that classroom dying of laughter, smoked, and took the rest of the day off. It was now getting to the end of the year, and there was nothing left she could do but watch me stunt on her. My spirit was strong, and I couldn't wait to get the last laugh. My opportunity came on the very last day, after leavers assembly, when Miss Quarters pulls me aside and gives me the greatest assist of all time. She pulls out the menthol and gives it back to me. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Me and the menthol reunited at last. It had been marinating in the vape drawer for a whole year and was now back with a vengeance. So you know I had to give us a proper send off. I took that bad boy straight to the lounge and chiefed that shit right in front of the camera to send a final message. But I didn't stop there. No toilet or corridor was left unlounged. After reclaiming our territory, me and the menthol were finally satisfied with the legacy we'd left behind. We'd won everything there is to be won. Now our time in the game was coming to an end. I took a moment to admire my work, turned around, and haven't looked back since.